Do you want to know what makes a woman unforgettable and irresistible to a masculine man? Well, I'm going to start by telling you it is not how independent a woman is. It is not how well she dresses. It is not how much money she makes. It is in the quality of her character and how she embraces her femininity. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down 9 different things that make a woman irresistible to a masculine man. Now, the reason why I'm saying masculine, because a feminine man would not find these traits attractive, because a feminine man is looking for a woman who is embodying more masculine traits. He looks for a woman that is more decisive, more leading, more protective, more providing. He is looking for those traits to complete and balance out his own inner feminine energy. Now, I know that some people may have some aversion towards masculine and feminine energies, and they don't fully understand the concept. But when you get these things right, especially in your relationship, and you understand how to play with these energies that we all embody, then your entire relationship and intimate life, if you're single or in a relationship right now, will completely change forever. Now, on January 20th, I'm hosting a 5-day Polarity Jumpstart Challenge, which basically I'll be breaking down the nuances of masculine and feminine energies, communication, getting into some healing work in the shadow side of things to really uncover your true core energy so you can lead from that place in your intimate life. Whether you are single and looking to attract a healthy relationship, or you are currently in a relationship right now that you really want to bring more passion and fire in, then this 5-day challenge will be for you. We are doing this January 20th. So if you would like to be a part of this, the link is down in the caption, okay? Number 1, the thing that women do, arguably one of the most important things that a woman can embody in the sense of a feminine trait, is her softness, okay? So a lot of times when people hear softness, they immediately think, oh, so I just got to be weak. I can never be strong. But there is so much strength and gentleness and softness, because it's in a woman's softness that allows a man to be firm. Let me say this again. It is in a woman's ability to be soft that invites him to be firm. You see, all through nature, there's a balance of everything, right? When you find that balance within yourself as a woman and you tap into that femininity, which may have been repressed because this society has hardened women, especially feminism. It taught women to be strong and independent and not need men, but they've developed their masculine traits so far that they've become very cold and robotic. And rightfully so. They've been stuck in survival mode, right? They've been conditioned psychologically over and over for decades to be strong, to be independent, to not need anything from anyone, to not show vulnerability, to not show weakness, which is all repressive of the feminine essence. So many women are stuck in this boss babe survival mode, and they don't know how to get out of that energy. And they want to, because most women that are truly feminine in their core, they don't want to have to be playing this masculine role in society. They don't want to have to be the one making all the decisions, taking the lead, figuring every problem out. They don't want this shit. But they've been forced into this role, especially single women. They've been forced into this role. And even women that I see in relationships, they're put into this role. Oh, they do it to themselves as well. They're not victims of the situation. They're put in this role of leading, solving the problems, organizing everything. And they get into this role and they start building so much resentment towards their man because they're like, why doesn't he lead? Why doesn't he step up? Why doesn't he take charge? Because if you look at the animal kingdom, there's always a hierarchy of energies, right? And this doesn't mean when people hear that word, they think, oh, so the masculine's better. No, it's just the masculine thrives in problem solving, leading, decision making. Not saying the feminine can't do that, because a lot of women do that and they do it very well. And oftentimes they'll even do it better than a feminine man, right? So That's where the imbalance is created in our society. So the first trait that women really have to begin to understand is embodying a sense of softness. And this requires opening her heart, healing your past pain towards men, letting go of this idea that you need to be perfect all the time. Okay. Number 2 is receptivity. Ooh, you want to be able to identify how feminine you really are. How willing are you to receive? Okay. How willing are you able to receive support, help, a man's giving, a man's leadership, a man's providing? Are you afraid to ask for what you want because you don't want to be a burden? You don't want to be an inconvenience? These things all revolve around your own shame and guilt. And when you carry shame and guilt towards your own femininity, you will never allow yourself to be fully embodied in that juicy feminine essence that a masculine man really, really craves. Okay? Because that feminine essence, that's ever flowing life force, that's always dancing, that's always moving, that's always changing, is super attractive to a man, right? Like, think about how men will replicate the feminine energy in our society to just get that feeling of feminine energy. He'll chase the high of gambling, and he will often do it in unhealthy ways, unfortunately. He'll chase the high of gambling. He'll chase the high of the stock market. He'll go out and get really drunk with his friends and act like an idiot because he wants to feel that feminine energy moving through him. So many different ways that a man seeks artificial feminine energy, but the most powerful force of femininity lies within a woman's essence. And when a woman truly is connected to that place in herself, she becomes so magnetic and irresistible to the masculine. And it allows space for a man to just step in and be like, I want to take care of that woman. I want to protect her. I want to provide for her. I want to create an environment where she thrives. And this is exactly what's happened with my wife and I. Like, I'm not speaking from theory. I'm not speaking from bullshit terms that I've read online. I've truly lived this and continue to live it with my wife. That doesn't mean we don't have challenges. This doesn't mean we don't have communication issues sometimes, but we are so in tune with each other's energies, our natural core energies, that it allows a space and an environment for us to really both thrive. I feel inspired in my masculine. She feels inspired in her feminine. So that's really the dynamic that you are wanting to embody if you really want to feel best in an intimate relationship. Okay, so number 2 is receptivity, your willingness and your ability to receive help and support. I know it makes you feel vulnerable. I know it makes you feel weak, especially if you've never done it before, but allowing yourself to truly ask and open to receiving support, it makes you stronger, but it also puts you more in your feminine nature to be able to have a sense of being taken care of, right? So if you want a man to provide for you, if you want a man to take care of you, which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of women are like, well, I don't need a man to take care of me. I don't need a man to provide for me. I can do that all on my own. But go ahead, and you're gonna have to play both roles, the masculine and the feminine, right? And then you're gonna burn yourself out. You're gonna end up with a feminine man, and you're gonna have a lot of resentment, okay? Number 3 is playfulness. Not being so serious, not being so rigid, not being so uptight, not being so intense with your tonality and your demands of your words. Having a sense of playfulness as a woman, I love when my wife is playful. It like softens my roughness, if that makes sense. It softens my aggression. It softens my sometimes overly masculine way of being direct and leading, like on the mission. Her playfulness draws me out of that space, and it allows me just to remember to be strong but gentle, right? Like, her playfulness is an invitation for me to be strong but also gentle. And a lot of women, when they get into this hyper masculine state, they forget to be playful. They forget to feel their own joy, to feel their own pleasure. And they move away from that, and they become very cold and robotic. And because they're stuck in this type of hyper masculine state, they either A, emasculate the man that they're with, or B, keep attracting feminine men. And neither of those type of men are what she really deeply yearns for, right? So as you let go of this seriousness all the time and this rigidness and this righteousness, right? you allow yourself to soften into your body, to become more playful, to be more open to love, to be more open to the possibility of these things, it creates an environment where a man's like, fuck yeah, I want that. I want all of what she's got over there. You know what I'm talking about right now? If this is resonating for you, I would love for you to leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube right now. It would really help me a lot by just leaving a comment and let me know what's resonating right now for you. Number 4 is emotional presence. Now, I know that in the whirlwind of things, a lot of times women and men, I'm guilty of this at times, full transparency here, they can lose that emotional awareness and emotional presence. And what happens is she will often make things very transactional, very business-like, very just all about task and to-do list and achievements and responsibilities. That's very boring, okay? Because a man's mind is always there. Not saying you can't talk about things that are important, especially if you have children. You need to talk about these things. You need to talk about the weekly schedule, whatever. But don't make your relationship to the masculine only about those things, because when you do that, it becomes very boring and dull. And it's just like, why are we even here? We're just business partners at this point. The emotional awareness, the emotional presence of a woman when she wakes up and she's like, I feel exhausted. I need some rest. Like, that's an emotional presence. That's an emotional awareness. Or I feel like I just really want to be held right now. Could you give that to me? The emotional presence, the emotional awareness of these things. Her feeling her emotions, not getting lost in them, and not needing to explain every single little detail to a man, it offers a sense of very grounded and calm, nourishing energy to a man. And he's just like, okay, I can give you that, because he's very clear about her emotional needs. And a lot of times what women will do is they will over express every single detail and feeling that they have, or they will shut down and go cold. And neither of those two things will ever work or they give attitude, which is another one, very poor attitude, very snotty, sarcastic. They do those things and they're like, why doesn't he understand my needs? Well, how are you communicating? Are you coming from a place of expressing the fullness of your emotion and your fullness of your heart? Or are you diluting it by overthinking and over-explaining yourself, or shutting down and going cold? Okay. Number 5 is your sensuality. The idea and the thought of a sensual woman, especially with your man, where you feel safe and you feel connected to him. Doesn't mean that you're sensual just out in the world, because that's also not attractive to a man, but you're sensual to your man. You're connected to him sexually. It allows him to feel very nourished by that energy. A masculine man wants to feel the openness of a woman's heart. He doesn't want to feel like she's withdrawn, closed down, and she's afraid to be sensual, because he can feel all of that. He can feel the fear and the tension in a woman's body when she's disconnected from her pleasure and her sensuality. And a woman that is deeply connected to her sensuality and her pleasure, it creates a sense of magnetism in her energy field that just draws a man into her. Because it's so alluring. Like, that really is like the feminine allure, right? Like, it's magnetic to a man when a woman is deeply connected to her heart and her pleasure, because she doesn't have all this shame and guilt, right? She has confidence in who she is. She has self-worth in who she is as a woman. And when she has those things, a masculine man that is truly embodied will feel that and will want to be a part of it. This, when I keep saying it wants to be a part of it, that's meaning that it makes her irresistible to a masculine man. A masculine man wants to take care of a feminine woman. That is our nature. We want to provide. We want to give. Sometimes it shows up in the form of solving problems and giving solutions, and sometimes we need to pull back on that. But what we really want to give to a woman, a truly healthy masculine man, is an amazing experience for this life. We don't want you to have to take care of all the technical shit. We don't want you to have to solve all the problems. We don't want you to have to figure every little detail and carry the load of the relationship. We want to take that burden off you. We want you to be able to thrive. We want you to be able to rest when you need rest, to pull back when you need to pull back, to feel what you need to feel, so you can be radiant and feminine and sensual. But when a woman carries shame in her body, especially sexual shame, this could be from harmful past experiences and trauma, and there's other things that affects this. When a woman carries that sense of shame and guilt and fear, she's not able to open up because she's just carrying all of that tension and tightness in her body. And that causes her to block the flow of her feminine energy. Number 6 is vulnerability. All of these things are really circling around being vulnerable, because asking for help, sharing and expressing your needs, having an open heart, this all revolves around vulnerability. This doesn't mean you don't have healthy boundaries, okay? But a woman that is willing to be vulnerable also, yeah, she's taking a little bit of a chance here. She might get hurt, but in the sense, she also might get her needs met, because a good man wants to meet your needs, right? So when you open your heart and you are vulnerable, that doesn't mean you don't have healthy boundaries. That doesn't mean you don't say no to things. In fact, a truly feminine woman is very deeply connected to her emotions. And when she feels something that is wrong, she will say something. She will express, hey, this doesn't feel right. I don't feel good about this. I'm not interested in this. No, thank you. And she has self-worth and self-respect. So vulnerability done right also has healthy boundaries. The willingness to say, no, I'm not interested in this, or no, thank you, or this doesn't feel right. Whatever that boundary needs to be, it's a sense of being vulnerable. And being vulnerable is a very difficult thing, because we're taught our whole life to never need anything from anyone, especially women, as they're raised by these hardened mothers and critical mothers and passive fathers. They're taught, don't need anything from anyone. Always look perfect. Make sure your makeup looks great. Make sure you're always put together. Make sure you always have the right answer and the right response. So these women, from the time they're little girls, are conditioned to be hardened. And of course, they're disconnected from their femininity. So as a result, they end up in life very unfulfilled and unloved and uncherished in their relationships, their romantic relationships, which is a very high priority for a feminine woman. She wants to feel the essence of love in her life. And without love in her life, then she begins to feel like a dry, dying flower. She doesn't feel the support of the masculine in her life. She doesn't feel the love and the nourishment of the masculine in her life. It's like the sun without the flower, or the flower without the sun. They complement each other. And that really is how the masculine feminine dynamics work. Like the river flowing water over the riverbank. The riverbank being the structure of the masculine holding the feminine flow. And when women don't have that sense of feminine flow in their life, they become all riverbank, which is just gravel and dirt and sand. Boring, dull. They don't want to feel like this. They've just been stuck in this role for their whole lives. How do I know this shit? Because I've been doing this for 10 years, and I've seen thousands of women go through this process of transformation, of connecting to their feminine heart, opening to their pleasure, their hearts, becoming embodied in that juicy feminine space, and it heals their entire well-being. Their hormones shift, their skin becomes healthier, their gut issues go away, their back pain dissolves. Like, why? Because they've been spending their entire life in this rigid masculine shell, and then they break free of that, and all of the stuff, yeah, it's hurtful, it's painful, all the stuff comes crumbling down. And she's like, holy shit, I feel amazing. I feel like I'm in this state of flow, which I've never been here before. I feel pleasure in my body. Now, before that may come a lot of emotion and sadness and hurt and pain, because the healing process works like that. It's very ugly in the beginning. It's very messy. Like when I began my healing journey of letting go through all this trauma and shit from my childhood, it took me years to let that shit go, which led me to my purpose with doing this type of work, right? But it is a process, and you really need to learn to be gentle with yourself, because the masculine inside of a woman goes, well, I want the resolution right now. I need a goddamn resolution right in this moment, Jake. Give me one. What are the 5-step process? Slow down. We're just going to pump the brakes a little bit, all right? Because the healing process is not like that. It's up and down, it's messy, it's all over the place, and you got to learn to be patient with yourself. Whether you're a man or a woman listening to this right now, you have to learn to be patient with yourself as this process unfolds. Number 7 is your intuition. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to make this a quick one. My wife's perspective and wisdom and intuition deeply helps me in my life. And I will often call upon that because it offers a different perspective. You see, a feminine woman is an intuitive woman. An intuitive woman offers a sense of perspective and wisdom that is often not felt by a man because we're very logical. We're very critical thinking, right? So our intuition doesn't thrive as much, I would say, as a woman's. Like woman has almost like this like a magical witchiness about her where she's like, I feel this. And a man's like, how the hell did you sense that? Right? Like in a woman's, a feminine woman, she can like always sense when something is off if she's connected to that sense of intuition. And the more you listen to that and the more you honor it, the more it strengthens. So intuition is very attractive to a man because a man sees that as a sense of that is a beautiful thing to have in my life. That is a gift for me. Like I love my wife's perspective and intuition on things. So it's very important that a woman hones her intuition and listens to her intuition. And the more you develop that, just like a muscle, the more your intuition will strengthen. Okay. Number 8 is your nurturing energy. And let me be very clear about this. I am not telling you to be a mother to a man. Okay. Because that is super unattractive when you act motherly to him, when you schedule his appointments, when you, let me give you some more examples here. When you tell him it's cold outside and you should put a jacket on. You put a jacket on, Johnny. It's going to be very cold outside. Or make sure you're driving carefully today, Jonathan. Like you're talking to him like a little boy, and that is super motherly behavior, okay? Now, there's a huge difference between mothering and nurturing, okay? Nurturing is much more intimate. It's much more sexual, where mothering is the total opposite of that, okay? Nurturing looks like you are giving the man nourishment. You give him a playful dance, right? Like you kiss him sexually. You make him a nice warm meal from your femininity. And you do these things with a sense of love and intimacy and desire to connect to him. Those things are very nourishing to a man, where when you start being his mother, you strip away the intimacy. So your ability to nurture, not like a child, but to nurture a man is super healing, but is also very nourishing to him. And men really crave that. Men want a nurturing woman. Now, what I see go wrong with a lot of women is they will do this too early on in a relationship with a man, and especially in the dating phase. Because as you get into a relationship, you're going to really want to nurture. But in the early dating stages, they start treating him like husband when he's not even at that status yet. And they're giving him all this like nurturing energy. And the man kind of loses a little bit of respect for the woman because she's doing it too soon. And it almost comes off as like something is wrong. And then the woman loses respect for herself because she's giving all of this love and nourishment to a man who probably doesn't even deserve it at that point. Okay. So you have to be selective with how you nurture and when you nurture, right? And don't overthink this, don't overcomplicate it. But as you develop a relationship with a man, it's going to come natural to you to really want to nurture him because he's going to be a giver. He's going to be a provider, and you're going to see these things. And there's nothing wrong with nurturing him. It's very attractive. Just don't mother your man. Number 9, and the final one, is confidence in your femininity. Now, this is arguably the most attractive trait overall because a truly confident woman who is unapologetic in who she is, she's not afraid to ask for what she wants. She's not afraid to express her needs. She stands in that place of power because she knows who she is. She's not holding on to fear and self-doubt and insecurity. Because all those things are just work for a man, okay? When you come across as fearful and doubtful, and not saying you can't be these things at times because you're going to feel fear, you're going to feel shame, you're going to feel guilt, you're going to feel doubt. But if you're consistently those things, then a man looks at that as like, this is a broken project that I'm never going to be able to fix. And a man doesn't want to add more work to his plate. So if you are consistently showing up as insecure and full of shame and full of fear and full of doubt, he is going to withdraw. But if you show up as confident and secure and you know your worth, that makes you very attractive to a man because he looks at you as someone that you can build a life together. It's very hard to build a life with someone that is emotionally unstable because they're insecure, full of shame, full of fear, and full of doubt. Now, you could say, well, he put that fear here. He put that doubt here. Okay, well, then you need to work on healing it together. But if he didn't, and you're bringing all of that resentment from your past into the relationship, then that is going to cause a disconnect between both of you. So being confident as a woman, having self-love, having self-worth, having healthy boundaries is very attractive to a masculine man. So I want to know which one of these resonated the most with you. Please, if you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comments down below what resonated the most for you. And I appreciate you being here. As always, stay open, stay loving, and stay connected to that powerful source within you.